Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle, and I'll be your instructor this evening for the sub-user training. I'm going to wait a few more minutes to see if anybody else is going to be joining us. As usual, raise your hand if you can hear me and see my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen now. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and begin. This training session is going to go over all the sub-users in the office, so that way you get familiar with how to log into the system and so forth. So if your admin has already set you up in the software, or if you already have a previous user in the software, this is good to go. So new users, what your admin will do will create an account, and you will get an email from us in regards to setting up the software. It's going to include the client ID, your username, and then the password is going to be everything that's going to be in the quotation marks. And the way that that looks is this is the email that you're going to get, and it's going to basically say this the password for, and the first thing is going to be the client ID, and then the second thing will be your username, and you're going to copy everything that's between the quotation marks here to put as your password for the first initial time. So once you do that and you enter it, it is going to then prompt you for a two-step verification, which gets emailed to your email that's listed on the account. Go ahead and put that in, and it will allow you to get into the software. So before we log in, if you're in Google Chrome, I'm going to show you how to create the shortcut on the desktop and to also put it on your taskbar. So top right at the underneath the X, click the three little dots, go to more tools, and go to create shortcut. And this is where it's going to go ahead and create the shortcut, and you're going to see it on your desktop because you see that I have 2017, 2018, and 2019 already here. And then let me show you, because this is my taskbar. If you right click on the icon itself and you go to pin to taskbar, it's going to put this little icon right here, so that way when you open it up, it'll be there. When you close it, that icon will always stay there, so that you don't necessarily have to go to the desktop. You can just go to the taskbar and open it up. So now let's go ahead and get you logged in. This is the 2018 version. Any year that you may need to get into, all you're going to need to do is in this address right here, change the 8 to a 7 or to a 6 or to a 5. As for the current year for the 19 version, all you need to do is put in twonline.taxwise.com, and it will automatically bring you to the 19 version. And as you can tell, the differences between each of the software is this is the full completed version, and they're still currently working on the 2019 version. Also, it depends on what your admin actually assigns you as far as your roles go. So that way you can actually get in here and create a new return. You may have to set it to where you will have to put it in the return stage for the actual e-filer to be able to complete the return for you. So what you're going to do is go ahead and create a new return, and you can either use it in the tax forms or you can go to the interview mode. So I am going to create a new return, and I'm going to go to the interview mode. So that way I can show you how to prepare, especially I'm going to forewarn you that it's a little bit more of a delay in the interview mode versus the forms mode. And if you're okay with that, then we're good to go. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to mark this as single, and I'm going to hit next. It also has a little help button. If you hit the help button, it'll ask questions to decide what filing status you need to do for that person. And I'm going to enter the information as far as the person goes. It's going to ask for a date of birth, occupation, email address. Is very important that you do get an email address, especially for your admin in the office. That way they can send out marketing material, or in case they the perfect reason for is if they drop off their paperwork and you need to get them to sign the return, you need to have an email to remotely send it to them. And then I'm going to hit next. And just as long as you're aware that there is just a little bit of a delay, and then you're just going to continuously go next, next, and enter all the information as far as the return goes. I'm going to switch it over to the forms mode so I can show you what the forms mode looks like. Now, as you can tell, it says warning, tax forms are not yet finalized. They're still currently working on them until we get the update from the IRS. It's going to continuously say that. And you notice that this is red. So in order to make it go away, I've got to enter information, and the red goes away. Most of this stuff your admin will actually put in here as far as your templates go, and it will already be pre-filled with certain things like the questions right here. Are you excluding Puerto Rico income from tax returns? No. New this year, did the taxpayer spouse or any dependent receive insurance through the marketplace? If so, mark it off as yes or no. That way it can bring in the forms accordingly. Another new thing is everything that's been going on for the past couple years as far as Bitcoin goes and currency. Now the IRS wants to be able to track it. So at any time during 2019, did the taxpayer spouse receive, sell, send, exchange, or otherwise acquire any financial interest in any virtual currency? So if you hit yes, it'll bring in the forms accordingly. So it's already marked off as single. If I had it marked off as head of household, then I can come in here and start entering the dependents as far as that goes. If there are more than 4 dependents, what you'll do is you will come over here to the 1040 page 1. On the first name of the first dependent, if you select it and hit your F9 key on your keyboard and you go to new, then you can select the additional dependents to where you can actually enter 5 and above. So what you're basically doing is coming in here, filling out all of the information as it applies to the customer, and you're wanting to get, as we say, all the red out of the return. So that way, when you do complete the diagnostics, then you'll be able to see if there's any errors in the return, go ahead and fix them and get it prepared to e-file it. If you have the capability of being able to e-file it, you will have that e-file button. Otherwise, if you do not, and you save and close this return and you go to the tax return tab, there is a stage listed right here, and you can put it as, and I'm going to put mine as ready to e-file, so that the preparer in the office that has the capability of being able to e-file the returns, once they get into the office or if they check their tax return tab, they'll be able to see that this return is ready to go. They can get in there and they can go ahead and e-file the return. Now, a great thing about this is I will show it to you in the 2018 software because you won't be able to see it in 2019. If you're having any kind of trouble with the tax return, or if you do get the return back and it's been rejected and you're waiting on the customer, good thing as far as best practices go is there is a client note section in here to where you can actually leave yourself notations like working on the customer, waiting for a customer to bring in second W-2, or need help with the child tax credit because blah, 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 or need help with the dependent care or a Schedule C. That way, the other preparer in the office that is helping you can get into the return and just review the notes, so that way they can go through and review the return. Whatever they find, they can leave it as far as a note, or if you're in the same office, you guys can look at the return together and go ahead and fix it together. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And since we're in the 2018 and it doesn't have it in the 2019, once everything is said and done and every single form on here is green, don't mind the price sheet because it's always going to be red. You can run your diagnostics and it's going to tell you whether or not there's any kind of errors in the system. If so, this is a little hyperlink. It will take you to the form that requires attention. Once you fix it, it'll give you the capability of being able to go ahead and do the diagnostics again. If you have the capability, then you will go ahead and have to e-file the return. If there's a bank product on this return, you will need to print out the return before it gives you the capability of doing any of the e-filing. So everything in the system prints to a PDF format. Once it gets ready to print it, you can go ahead and send it to the printer so that way the customer can have a copy. New this year, you'll be able to email it over to them within the program. So it's very secure to be able to do something like that. As far as the e-signature goes, if you do have a Topaz signature in the office, then you can get them to sign it on the Topaz signature. If not, and they just drop off the paperwork, or if they just want to do it remotely, then you can go ahead and send it to them, and you can do it within the return where it says e-signature. And as long as the return is filled out, because you can see that missing first name or last name, it won't let me do it. Otherwise, if it does, you can do the drop down and select it from the remote or in person. And if you choose in person, you'll have to print out the return to have them sign it, or on the preparer's device. So that way you have that hooked up, they can just sign it. And what will happen is it will actually put a signed document in the Vault system. So the Vault system is your document manager. If your customers come in with a stack load of paperwork and you have a multi-feed scanner, then you can go ahead and scan it all in. It will come in as one file. Or if you want to scan one of them at a time and label them like W-2, 1099, education credits, dependent care. That way, when it does get pulled into the vault, you'll know exactly which each one of them are, and you can just click it. So in case you do have to check it at a later date, it's all there, and it's great if you ever do get audited. It's there as a digital form, because we know that sometimes when we put it in that manila folder and then we put it in the file cabinet, and then we may have to come back to it, and we accidentally may drop a W-2 and it may go at the back of the thing and it's lost. So at least this way it is not lost. So we're going to save and close this return. If you do have the capability of being able to e-file the return, you'll be able to come over here to your e-filing tab, go to Submit e-files. You'll be able to select the return itself and be able to continue, and it's going to confirm that you want to go ahead and continue. So once you continue it, it will send it. And if you notice that I have my federal and my state here, normally when you're in a tax return, the way that the system is designed is it will e-file the federal return first, and it wants to wait until it's been accepted before you can actually e-file the state return. So let's go down here, and we're going to bring in Georgia because there's not a state return for Florida. And it's usually the second page or the last page of the return, the state return. And it's going to ask, do you want to electronically file this return? Yes. So if you want them to both to go at the same time, especially when the deadlines are near and you don't want to have the customer get penalized, then you can come in here where it says check here if you want to file this return as unlinked. And both of them will give you the capability of being able to e-file them at the same time. The only reason why we do it as the federal has to be accepted before you can send the state is because if the federal does happen to reject and you come in here, you fix the federal, it may change the calculations on the state return. So once it does get accepted, then you can actually e-file the state return. So just be aware, if you're gonna around the deadlines send them both, just be prepared that you may have to amend the state return if it gets changed at all. As far as being able to upload any kind of documents, the way that it works is if I select my little vault key right here and I go to import to vault, it's going to give me the capability of being able to select what I want it to put in there. So if you've got it stored on a special folder or on one of those external hard drives, just make sure that that external hard drive is plugged into the computer so that it reads it in the left-hand side, and you can select it and go ahead and bring it in here. So once it gets brought in here, it says it was successful. I'll hit close, and you will see the document at the bottom of the forms tree. So that way, if you click on it, it's going to actually bring you to that document itself. So we're going to go ahead and save and close this. Just to let you guys know, if you want to know what the shortcut keys as far as like going to the next entry or anything else like that, if you come over here to this question mark key at the top right hand corner, go to Program Help, and I'm going to go to the search feature right here, and I'm just going to type in shortcut and hit enter. And it'll be the first one on the list where it says keyboard shortcuts. And you can make like a document of a snippet of this, or if you just want to go ahead and print it out so that way you have it at your desk, you know how to F9 on a entry, it'll take you to a form if it's linked together. F1 will do your help guide, so that way you can come in here. Control E will jump to the next required entry, so that way if you're just a keyboard person, that's great. If not, then you can use your mouse just to scroll down and go to the next entry. Does anybody have any questions? Now, this is an online software, So if your internet goes down at any time, I do recommend that you install the desktop version. So that way you can get in here and still have the capability of preparing the return without having to say, well, I can't do your return. I'll have to get to it later until my internet comes back up. So just have this installed. Open it up. You'll have to go into your username to be able to create the returns. Once the internet comes back up, you'll have to use your communication to send it to the online version for you to be able to e-file the return itself. I will be having a webinar tomorrow on the desktop version, so that way you guys get familiar with how to install it and keep it up to date, because online version, you're not having to worry about updating networking or anything like that. But with the desktop version, it's a little bit different. And of course, there are other things that you may want to bookmark or put as your desktop icons. Like, as you can see, I've got my support site here. My knowledge base is a great functionality for me to be able to just click it. And if I'm having an error and it's in the middle of the night, I may just want to be able to go over here to the knowledge base and type in like prior year downloads or registration codes or things like that. So that way I can get in here, and until we get back into the office, at least this may help you to solve the issues that you're having. I also have where's my refund, just in case, we know how customers are. They always want to know where their refund is at. You can just double click it. It'll take you there. You'll be able to put in all of the information as far as the social, the filing status, and the refund amount. So that way you can let the customer know exactly where it's at. I also have fast support on here, because that is something that our support reps use in case they need to remote in and fix anything that's going on with it. Me personally, I like to have it bookmarked, so that way if you're calling and you're having an issue, I would like to remote in to help you with it, so that way I can show you how to fix it. So going forward, in case you do get the same issue, you know how to fix it, not just me being able to fix it for you. So just, if you go to fastsupport.com and any of our websites that are very helpful for you, and you're in Google Chrome, always go over here to these three little dots, go to more tools, and go to create shortcut. That way it will create that shortcut. So when I say, hey, can you open up fast support, all you're going to do is open it up. All you got to do is say, hey, can I get the key? I give you the key, and then it'll allow me to remote in to help you. So as far as the help menu goes, and let me go back into the return, and I'll do it in 18 because it's a little bit more complete than. So I'm going to go over here to the 1040 page 2. And if I hit F1, it's going to bring me to the help menu for TaxWise itself. And then of course you can just easily come in here, and I just like to use the search feature because it gives me more things for me to be able to look. And of course you can always take your mouse and drag this so that way you can see everything right here. So let's see, line 31, alimony paid, line 6C, additional dependents, the worksheet 2. So you just come in here and search for what you're looking for. And if you guys are going to use the forms mode, because I absolutely love it, like I said, if you hit F9 on that, then it will take you to a selection of, okay, well, do I want to bring in a W-2 or 2106 or 1099-R? Even more of a simpler way, in the forms tree on the left-hand side, this little plus sign, if you select it and you type in 1099, or even if I go to EIC or education, I don't have to know the form number. It'll start looking in the description as well. And all you'll need to do is hit the plus sign in order to bring that form into the return. And it's very important to know that If I initialize this return in the interview mode, it's going to create an interview form in the forms mode. If you go and try to delete any of the forms in there, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'm going to switch back over to the forms mode. And like I said, just be prepared. That's a little bit slower than the forms mode. It automatically pulls in this interview form. So if I was to have this marked off as yes, you'll notice on my W-2 that's right here, it has a plus sign for me to be able to clone it, but it does not give me the capability of deleting it. So I would need to come back over here to the interview mode, mark it off as no, and as long as I have this little X here, I can hit it. It's going to want you to confirm that you want to delete it, and once you hit OK, it gets rid of it. If you need to print the whole return, that's awesome. Just go ahead and print it. But if you need to just print one form, because I know that there was a lot of issues with the insurance as far as the 8962 goes, and they wanted you to print out off certain forms to fax it over to them, just come over here to this little print icon. If you select the form itself, it will only print that form. Does anybody have any questions? As far as you asking about the household help forms, is there like a form number that goes to it? Are we talking about the Schedule H? Hey, let's go back over to the page 2. Now, are you wanting to put it like on the 2106 or just like a scratch pad? Let's see. Okay. Now, this is the list of all the forms that are pertaining to the line 1, like the W-2, W-2G, the FEC, the 1099-R, the 2106, the 2441, the 4137, the 3903, the 8839, and then the scratch pad. So when I typed it in, it gave me the option to go to the Schedule H. Is the Schedule H what you're looking for? Now, the only thing when I do a search for house, it gives me the Schedule 8, and of course it gives me the head of household worksheet. I will have to investigate that further to find out where exactly you would actually put it on. Well, of course, this is what you're looking for. Okay, so let me do a little bit more research and then I can get back to you to tell you how it works in our system. As far as being able to delete any of the forms that are not included in the interview, as long as it has an X like it does right here, just click on it and confirm it, and it will delete it from the system itself. And as far as any kind of recommendations as far as a scanner goes, I would recommend that you get a multi-feed scanner, especially if you're just going to feed the whole thing and just create one file in here. If not, multi-feed scanners are still great. Just go ahead and put it in to the back end and it'll scan it in. And it just depends on however which way you want to put it in here. If you want to do all the documents at once and create one document, so that way all you have to do is click on it, but you will have to search for the document in that big document. If not, then do one of them at a time and create a desktop folder, so that way when you're scanning it you can put the documents in there and you can label it for each of the taxpayers once you've scanned it, and you can say W-2, 1099, rent receipts, interest, dividends, all that kind of good stuff. So that way, when you do upload it after it's been uploaded, you can delete it off of your system. Or if you have an external hard drive, you can go ahead and keep a backup copy of it there just in case. But yeah, Yusuf, I will actually call you once we're done here and discuss a little bit further so I can get more information to see exactly how we need to set that up in the system. Does anybody else have any questions? Or would you like me to show you anything? As a sub user, this system is pretty much easy for you to be able to use it. All you're doing is going to be logging in here, creating the returns, and getting them ready to e-file if you don't have that capability. And it's pretty simple, especially if you use it in the interview mode or in the forms mode. You're just going in here and filling out all the information. And if, of course, if you need help, reach out to your admin, and of course they can reach out to us and we can always help. So I'm going to stick around for a few more minutes just in case anybody has any questions or wants me to show you anything, just let me know. So that is a good question. When you open a return to e-file the return, does it change the preparer? No. So if you do not have the privileges to e-file the return and your admin does or another person in the office does, if they go into that return and create the e-file and then e-file the return, it does not change it to them. It keeps it in your username unless you are the admin and you move it from one user to another. If you have the privileges to be able to reassign the return to another preparer, then yes, you can reassign it. And what will happen is if you do, I'm going to save and close this, and right here where it says view more actions, I can select move returns and move it to a different preparer. Okay, so I hope everybody has a great evening. If you guys have any questions, the email that got sent out as far as the training goes, you can reply to it or you can give us a call or chat us up and we will be more than happy to answer that. So, like I said, have a great evening. And of course, this is going to be recorded, so I'll post it to YouTube once it filters through the system.